And we are live with another broadcast of Roofing on the Rise, where we talk about the innovations in the roofing industry and the people that bring that innovation to us. Today, we have a special guest, Josiah. Josiah, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you today?
Doing great.
It's a great Wednesday.
And tell me how to pronounce your last name so I don't
It's
slaughter it.
it's Hollibaugh. Everybody
Hollibaugh.
slaughters it. Yeah, it's Hollibaugh. So
What is that?
it's German, very German. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, my aunts. So a few years ago, my wife and I did that 23andMe thing.
Okay.
And so I'm like 45% German, 40% Irish, and then mutt for the rest. So
I love it.
yeah, so it's pretty crazy.
So where are you coming to us live from? Where are you at today?
Well, I'm based out of Omaha, Nebraska. So I operate out of I've operated out of Omaha since 2006.
Is it cold up there right now?
No, it's supposed to be like 85 degrees and beautiful today.
85. Wow. Rainy?
Nope.
Man, it
sunny.
is raining cats and frogs right now.
And where are you based out of?
I am out of Houston, Texas. But yeah. Yeah, down here in wonderful, muggy, yet beautiful Houston, Texas.
I used to work for a company based out of Houston, actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What company?
Invista Forensics. Our building consultant division was based out of Houston.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Well, do you want the short version or the long version?
Give me like the in between, right? Okay. Trying to hit this at around 30, 45 minutes. We'll give a big shout out to TJ Ware, Asher Ware at Premier Claims, and having had the invite to come up there to Waco and hang out with you guys, and hopefully help provide value for the industry in that area. Love those guys. Absolutely excited about taking that journey today.
Yeah.
So give me in between.
So I originally grew up in small town Nebraska. I graduated with like 50 people in my class. It was my high school class. Moved to Omaha, went to Creighton here in Omaha. So I'm a Blue Jay. They almost made the Final Four this year. And then after college, during college, I met my wife and we started to settle down. And then, for the longest time, you do the service industry jobs around here. You wait tables, work as bartender. And then it's like, okay, I need to get a big boy job after I graduated.
Yeah.
And my degree is in meteorology. So I'm an atmospheric science major. I have an atmospheric science degree.
Okay.
And I've always been really interested in damage survey. So all through college, I chased tornadoes. So I was a storm chaser. And this is back when we would have to stop at the library, pull up the radar on the computer, and then drive after the storm and hope we were right. Now it's like you pull it up on your phone and like there's 27 different apps to look at the radar. But I've always had a really strong interest in damage survey. And so once I decided that, I'm not going to make it in the National Weather Service. The jobs are too competitive. They're only hiring people with master's degrees. I didn't want to go that route. So I actually decided, well, why not become an insurance adjuster? So I became an adjuster, a staff adjuster for, at the time it was Fidelity National Financial, which was later bought out by Stillwater Insurance. Some people may be familiar with them.
Right.
I worked with them for a handful of years. Then I decided that I didn't like being in the office. So I decided that I wanted to move out into the field. And I moved out in the field in 2009 and worked as a field adjuster for 8 years, building consultant, like a forensic building consultant for a couple years with Invista Forensics. And then COVID hit. And when I was a building consultant, I was traveling I was flying out at least twice a week. So I was traveling pretty much 100% of the time. And with the family, That's not great for anybody.
Right.
So I decided to come off the road, went to work for J-Tech Construction based out of Lincoln here in Nebraska. They're I'll give a shout out. They're the official exteriors partners of the Huskers. And then doing supplementing insurance liaison work, realizing how big of a need there was in this industry for competent people to do that type of work for not just them, but for everybody. So I decided to go that route. Went to work for Alina Wilson as a contractor for about a year, teaching Xactimate level 1, 2, and 3 courses, teaching contractors how to supplement, and coming at that side of the industry as more of a trainer, teacher, teaching role and I did that for a little over a year, and realized that I was tired of watching people take what I was telling them and make their money.
Right.
So in December of last year, I decided to make the jump, started my own company, and I haven't looked back.
Oh,
so
okay.
I've only been at it for about 6 months, but this part of it, this phase,
Right.
But with all of the 17 years of experience prior to that, it made this phase go really, really easy.
Well, dude, that is absolutely insane. So, talk about mindset a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about where your mindset was when you decided to become a CEO.
I got tired of working for other people. That was my mindset. And knowing that there was so much more that I could bring to the industry than what I was being allowed to in my current position. And knowing that there are limitations that are put on top of you because when you work for someone, we want you to stay. This is the lane that we want you to stay in, right? This is your job. This is what you need to do. And knowing that not only could I do that, I could do this, but I could also do that, really made me think, okay, I need to be doing this for myself so I can really flourish and expand my offerings to the community, right? And so that was the really big thing that we decided, that was kind of a determining factor. Like, oh, I'm going to go out on my own and do my own thing.
So let me dive deeper into that.
Sure.
The psychology of it. All right. So you're getting tired of working for the man, all right? Building someone else's dream, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's exactly what you do, or what was going on. And so at that period of time, was there a certain thing that, besides, I don't want to work for X anymore, I want to chase my dream? What was there that you activated in your mind that helped change that?
It was a conversation that I had with my wife. And when people talk about finding their partners in life, their soulmates, like having her as my partner throughout. So we got married in 2004. We were 22 years old. So we were really young when we got married. But when and so we're having this conversation in November, like right after Thanksgiving. And I said, I'm really frustrated with where I'm at. And she goes, well, why are you frustrated? It's like, I know I can give so much more, and there's so much more for me to take, so much more for our family, so much more for the community. And she goes, just do it. Why are you second guessing yourself? Just do it. And knowing that I had her permission to chase it made all the difference in the world, because that unleashed a bulldog in me. I'm making phone calls now that a year ago, if you said, hey, you're calling people and giving them a sales pitch, like almost a cold call, I never would have done. Never in a million years. But when it's your family on the line, when it's your butt on the line, there's a saying when I was in the military that it was pitter patter, let's get at her. Right. And once you take that mindset and you have that pip, then you get that bulldog in you, and you keep, and you know that you have, the only way that you can go is forward, it flips a switch, and it like, and even with small time contract, like I say, small time contractors, right? Small time to me is anything under 5 million a year, right? That's a small time contractor, because then you have the guys that do 10 to 25, and then you have the stone brick exteriors, which is our big local one that's doing 100.
Yeah.
But even when it's just you and your production team and that's it, like you don't have any, like you can't go backwards.
Right.
The only way you can go is forwards. And
yeah,
then,
that's a shark right there.
yep,
Sharks
exactly.
can't go backwards. They'll die.
Exactly. Yep. And once you get that mindset as an owner of a company, as a salesperson, that there's only one direction that I can go, and that's forward. That's when you start seeing these doors pop open.
Mm.
And if you're willing to walk through those doors, that's how you become successful.
Man, I'm finding that a lot of extremely successful individuals have a very successful and or if not more successfully driven mate. Most husbands or males in the industry have a wife at home that is a strong, solid rock. I would venture to say that a lot of the wives in our industry are the glue to to our our puzzle, and without that glue, we would be somewhat at a loss, or a little bit crazier. I know that without my wife, um, that exactly what your wife said. Well, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
My wife has had that conversation with me, and that's when everything else became a possibility and a reality in our life. Like, we didn't have what we have today. We were, I'm just going to be honest. We lived in a shack. Me and my wife have lived in a shack on the side of a lake. I'm not proud of that. But what I am proud of is the mindset and the dedication that my wife had to our relationship and our life, that she had the decency to believe in me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more what I'm trying to drive home here, is that person that stands behind you, whether it's your wife, whether it's your husband, your grandma, your grandpa, your mentor. Most of the time right now, I mean, we're talking about wives. Like, wives are a big, important part of what we do.
Well, and it's, I mean, your partner in general, if your partner allows you to be free, and so I use partner, and that term is kind of like the guys to me. So like,
Right.
that's wife, husband, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be. If they're behind you and they look at you and say, I know you can do it, you just have to. Like, the weight that came off of my shoulders when she said that, and I mean, just do it. 3 words. The weight that came off my shoulders was mind blowing. It took all the pressure off. It's like, okay, now I can go out and be the shark that I want to be, and I can chase after my dreams. And I have 2 companies right now. I have a public adjusting company here in Nebraska. I have, and we're expanding to Ohio as we speak. I have a consulting firm that we do estimating, supplementing, and that type of stuff here locally, and nation. Like, I have clients all over the country.
Right.
But the opportunity that her giving me the freedom to go out and chase these things and do these things has made my work-life balance better. It's made her work-life balance better. It's made us in like tenfold, like 10 times more financially secure.
Yeah.
And there's still stuff coming down the pipe.
Yep.
Like, she always keeps telling me, she's like, man, that freight train's getting real loud. It's coming down the tracks, isn't it?
Yep.
As she sees me work,
Yep.
And she's like, and don't get me wrong, it hasn't been sunshines and daisies and walks on rainbows the whole way.
Exactly.
there's been times where you second guess yourself. I remember a conversation. It was early February, right? And we're burning into our nest egg pretty well at this point, and the stuff isn't coming in. And I have the clients, and I'm doing the work, but in that industry, that side of the industry, you write an estimate and do the supplement. It may be 6 weeks before you hear
Right.
back, if not longer. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm still working on supplements that I started in January.
Yeah.
You just the interactions with the insurance companies, and we need to go back out. Oh, now we're going to send an expert. Like I have a the public adjusting one. I have a claim from January that we still haven't received an initial payment on. We've had 2 engineers. We've done multiple inspections, and now like over the last week, I've called the guy, probably the adjuster, like 3 or 4 times, and I still haven't received a response. Like, so that's what you deal with. And so all of that, when you start out, they don't tell you, well, there's going to be a lag in money, right? And that lag just carries out, and it's just because of delay. We knew it,
right?
But it gets to a point where you're like, "Whew, man, this burning into our nest egg, getting kind of antsy." And there's a lot of self-doubt, middle of February.
Yeah,
even knowing that. I mean, in the roofing industry, what's the slowest month of the year?
Yeah,
Probably February.
Yeah, December, January. Yeah,
yeah.
February here in Texas is kind of like
starts picking back up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but even then, she's like, that freight train's coming.
Yep.
Just wait, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, so in 6 months, or well, less than 6 months, it went from, okay, well, how am I going to pay my bills to now I'm paying the bills, and the money that she makes is play money,
right?
And that's a really good feeling, knowing that you're working for yourself and you're able to provide for your entire family.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep leaning back on that rock. I'm just going to give a shout out to my wife here. She's on almost every single one of my broadcasts, and she comments, she likes, and she listens, and she gives feedback. So one thing that we got to work on is mics. You could probably hear like the P's roll loud.
The puffs.
Pop filter, and different mics. So being able to listen to these things from my wife on a day-to-day basis, she helps me get better. I know that. And she's that rock in a absolute crazy sea, where I need a good solid keel, if you would. We talked about this in on Sunday, our pastor did at church, about God being the keel to our ship. And I would attribute that not only is God the keel to my ship, but my wife is also a part of that keel that helps keep the ship stable in that rough water. Because there's a lot of time, like you said, where there's that self-doubt, where you don't believe in yourself, you don't want to keep going or what have you. And you have that, if you're blessed, if God has blessed you with a significant other that is like mine, then you will have that rock that will continue to encourage you, even when maybe you're not doing your best, and they think that you could do better, but they know how to encourage you to do that the right way, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to jump off of the wives section and move on.
Yep.
Because I know my wife is just eating this up.
Mine is too.
I want to get into the Xactimate certifications, into the Xactimate knowledge space here for just a little bit. I talked to a couple contractors on a day-to-day basis. They don't understand how to supplement. They also don't understand making grave. You can make extremely grave mistakes in Texas by saying the wrong thing whenever you're doing the supplement process. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh, Yeah,
expert?
absolutely. So I mean, a little bit. I'm level 3 certified, so I'm considered a legal expert in Xactimate. Um, there's probably I can probably count on my hand how many people are more knowledgeable than I am, and that's not me touting it. It actually goes back to it's a testament to the people I learned under, Alina Wilson and Todd Beckman. I mean, I learned more in a year than I did the previous 15 that I've been in the industry. Um, and I'm the kind of geek that goes and looks and see what line items they've added, what prices they've changed, month to month basis, right? But this you kind of brushed on it, like, or brushed over it a little bit, but like the UPA, and so let's explain what UPA is. UPA is unlicensed. Go for it.
Unauthorized practice of public adjusting.
There you go. Thank you. Perfect. And so what that refers to is when you as a contractor go and try and supplement your job, right? Whether that be a exteriors job or interiors job, restoration job, mitigation job, and you step over the invisible line that's been laid in the sand by the insurance companies. And what
Invisible.
that is, invisible line. Yep. And generally speaking, that's the difference between talking scope and price, and then you step over and say, well, in the policy it doesn't say that. And once you bring in any type of policy discussion whatsoever, that's the minute that they're going to throw the UPA right back in your face. Now I see it all the time. I do supplement work for a couple of contractors in Texas, and they're really, really big on that down there. Like the minute that you, and I was a carrier adjuster for 12 years. I probably know their policy better than they do at this point. Since, when I was working with Alina, we always had this saying. It's like, oh yeah, they sent the guy that was cooking at Outback last week. Because that's, I say three things about any adjuster when they come out to your property. More than likely they're undertrained.
Yeah.
They're inexperienced, so they just don't have the inherent knowledge. They didn't get the knowledge from the insurance company. They're underpaid. Well, there's four things, and they're overworked. Yeah. When I was with Liberty Mutual, when I started there, I was their commercial staff adjuster, and I handled Nebraska, Iowa, North and South Dakota, and the northern part of Kansas and Missouri. That's a big territory for one guy. Yeah. Right. But when I started there, we had 24 adjusters in my region. When I left, there was 5. 4 years. That's so nuts. The workload, they're constantly selling. So the workload probably didn't decrease. It actually increased. They went from 24 adjusters to 5. Yeah. So that's like, so if you kind of think about that, I'm also a flies with honey guy. Like you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So, right. Having that kind of, all of those items kind of floating around in the back of my head makes it really easy for me to have a conversation with the adjuster. It's more of, hey, how can I help you resolve this? How can the only good file for both of us is a closed one. Right. And so that's really important. So that's kind of the mentality that I take into the whole supplementing process. But going back to the contractors, I have a saying, you don't know what you don't know. Right. So I've had people say, oh yeah, I'm really good at supplements. We get 10%. My average is 25. And that's with the majority of the files that I see are State Farm, Allstate, USAA, Travelers, like the ones that will, Travelers is different throughout the country. Like,
kind of sad that USAA is on that list. It used to be be a high paid. Before they were publicly traded, please do not hit me, USAA. I am a member and I love USAA, but
I do too.
It would be awesome if your name was not on that list.
And I think this is rumor, hearsay, if you will. I think they hired some of the upper claims executives from Allstate, is what I've heard. So
I'm trying to watch my mouth a little more, and I'm just gonna hold my tongue because that really makes me angry.
Yeah,
and I'm not a contractor anymore. I'm on the distribution side. I do more content creation than anything.
Sure,
and but I was a roofer for 11 years. I was a contractor for 11 years. So now on the other side, I'm helping voice these things that really need to change. That's one of them.
Well, it all goes back to a book, and the reason that this all came out is the same, and I can't remember, the same consultants that consulted Enron, Allstate hired them shortly thereafter. And so what happened is that they realized that they made more money by keeping the premium dollars in their coffers than they did by paying them out. Of course, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, but so when I worked at Liberty Mutual, our property and casualty division lost hundreds of millions of dollars. The company still made multiple $billion,
right,
from their investments, right? So they bring their money in, they bring your money in, they hold on to it, they get interest, they invest it. Like they were investing all over the world, you know, and so that's how they make their money. So the longer that they can keep your money in, the more money they make, and they know that.
Yep.
And so there's a book out there. It's called Delay, Deny, Defend.
Oh my gosh!
And so that's about the whole Allstate thing, right?
If you haven't read that book, please.
It's great.
Delay, Deny, Defend.
Yep.
Also from Open Hands to Boxing Gloves.
Yep. Dave Skipton,
one,
right? I think that's Dave Skipton.
Yep.
But both of those, I mean, they lay out exactly what's going on in the industry right now. You know, and like I'll throw Kentucky Farm Bureau under the bus here. I was working on some supplements earlier this year. Same company, same area, two different adjusters. One, I got $750 a square for roofing approved. 700, and it's just a laminate shingle, $750 a square. And the other one wouldn't approve 500. Same company, same exact estimate. Like I write my estimates almost the exact same every time.
Right.
And same documentation goes out. One got literally, I sent it to the contractor. The contractor calls me the next day and they said they had just approved that whole estimate.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. My estimates are litigation proof. They're locked down. And that's just from the fact that I've been doing it for so long. Right. I know how roofs go on. I mean, when I was in high school, I was putting roofs on. And that's some of the reason that I've kind of gravitated into this. But the discrepancies within even their own organizations make it really difficult to do supplementing. And
so I wrote up a supplement 2.5 years ago. Excuse me, 3 years ago. To Chubb Insurance.
I love Chubb.
Love Chubb. But SIU called me after I got done. Right? Okay, so full disclosure, roof is like 120 squares, 2 stories. A mayor owns the house. And there's 6-inch gutters. There's a grease trap on the residential roof. There's all sorts of stuff up there, right? The adjuster did not know what he was doing. He did not understand what the full actual scope was there. And so I took I do this every single time, a very detailed inspection with my scope. And I know what's there, what needs to be replaced, and what it takes to replace it. And so I wrote up a very detailed estimate. The original estimate, 120 squares, was like $30,000. And my estimate was over 65. It was like $75,000, $85,000. Let's just say 75.
Which is probably about right, actually.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And so the next thing I know, I'm on the phone with SIU, and they're asking me why I have these things in my estimate, and do I know that I'm skating on fraud? And I said, hold on, do you have the photos of the property? Mm-hmm. Well, I have what let me provide you with my almost 300 photo photo report of the interior and the exterior of the property. This property is huge. After they reviewed it, I am extremely sorry, sir. We're going to issue payment. Right. Click. And the next thing I know, the homeowner's calling me, asking me for a fucking estimate because I wrote up the estimate so high. He's got his money now. And he's like, where can I screw everyone else? So it's like, you got to, when you're writing an Xactimate, you've got to know what you're doing, but you also got to have the balls to say, listen, this is what it's going to take to replace it. This is what I'm saying that it takes to replace it. I'm the expert. Pay what I'm asking you to pay.
And it goes back to proper onboarding. There's a contractor that I've worked with Paragon Roofing in Nashville.
Okay.
Taylor Ammons is there. He's the CEO there. He's awesome. He does such a good job onboarding his clients that whatever whatever you get in, it just like they almost instantly hand the check over to him.
Absolutely.
That's where
value. Absolutely.
That's where it starts. It starts from teaching your sales professionals when they go out there, say, hey, we supplement the losses.
Yep.
And the reason that we do that is so that we can keep the doors open. And we can keep providing the service to our community.
Mm-hmm.
And we win some and we lose some.
Exactly.
We may win on yours, but we're going to lose on your neighbors.
Yep.
Right. And when you have those conversations, when they have something that comes in and it's $600 a square, $650 a square, $700.
Yeah.
They don't bat an eye at it. They just hand it over. Right. Yep. Work with a contractor locally in Omaha. Liberty Mutual. I write in Symbility as well. My firm writes in Symbility as well, just because of the growing trend of seeing some of the big players fall.
Simsol?
I don't write in Simsol. I have written in Simsol.
Okay.
And that, like 08, maybe 07. It's been a while. But 400, it's like $4.25 a square in Symbility. I write my Symbility, and I'm at like $650. And I send it in.
Symbility is for the contractor that does not know what we're talking about here, because a lot of people don't know what we're talking about here. It's Greek. So there's a few different types of manufacturer, if you would, or different lines of estimating softwares out there. Xactimate, just about everyone knows about. And then you've got the Symbility, and then you got Simsol, and there's one or two other.
RS Means is the other one.
Yeah.
And Marshall and Swift.
There you go. And these are, so for those that don't know what Symbility or Simsol is, so Symbility is a lot harder for me, as I was on the contracting side, was a lot harder for me to understand. It was broken up into elevations and broken up into different sections of the home. And so a lot of the times the homeowner and the contractor both are ignorant of what is actually paid at the property and don't know what is going on and need a professional like yourself to be able to differentiate.
And the thing with, we talk about Xactimate and Symbility. So Xactimate probably has 85% of the market share in this space. Symbility has probably the other 13-14% maybe. And then Simsol, RS Means, and Marshall and Swift probably have 1 to 1.5%. If that kind of gives you guys an idea of how common they are. You see RS Means and Marshall and Swift a lot more commercially. If you have a large commercial property, they do it, especially fires. Marshall and Swift does a really nice job on fully engulfed fires or specialty, like oil refineries, manufacturing facilities, that type of thing. But the reason that I taught myself Symbility this spring, just because we saw Liberty Mutual go to Symbility,
that growing trend.
Yeah, well, and it is. I mean, so it kind of started with Shelter and Erie were the kind of the first major players to use it.
Yeah.
Liberty Mutual's been talking about switching to Symbility since I worked there, and I left in 18.
Yeah.
So they've been talking. They were talking about it when I started there in
Yeah.
2014. So I was kind of shocked that they finally took the leap.
It's
But then
cheaper and I feel like it's meant to confuse,
it
honestly.
is, yeah,
And so if you're ignorant of the process and they can skate on that ignorance, then they have won. If they can save $1 on every claim, and there's a million claims that they've done, they've saved $1 million. But you bet your ass they're saving more than $1 on these claims.
where do you think the ITEL shingle thing came from?
Boom.
Like the market pricing research that they use.
Shout out to what they're doing over at NTS.
Oh yeah, John Cenac and the guys over there are awesome.
Oh
Love
my
them.
gosh, absolutely. Big shout out, John Cenac and NTS,
Yep.
everyone that's involved with that. Really, really thankful that you guys jumped on top of that and started that. We needed something to hold these insurance companies accountable.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do you get an ITEL back and they're like, you can find it in your market, and you're like, I'm the fucking professional here.
It's my fucking market,
right?
I'm the only one here.
Exactly.
There's a guy. I worked with a guy, contractor in North Alabama, right, rural area, Northeast Alabama. He's like, I'm the only roofer up here. There's we'll get some guys that'll kind of travel in and travel out, like they'll come up from Tuscaloosa or whatever the case may be. Right. He's like, but day to day, I'm the only guy up here. He's like, check out this ITEL. And he's like, they're available in your market. It's at the nearest Menards or whatever the case, or nearest Home Depot, whatever the case may be, right? Insert box store here. Sorry, box stores. Love you guys.
Right.
But he's like, there's no way I'm getting this thing. This is a 25-year-old 3-tab.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Like, and so then he sent it into ITEL separately without a claim number, and it came back as discontinued and unavailable.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's a growing trend of this too.
Fiscal responsibility to a claim could potentially, and happens a lot, determine how your claim is operated. Mm-hmm. I know that with engineers, that's also the case as well. Yep. So I've had one instance in 11 years where an engineer showed up to the property. This was on the border of Massachusetts and Connecticut. This was 4 years ago, and huge hailstorm. I mean, Connecticut just does not get hail.
No.
Okay, so this 2.5-inch hail that hit the border of Massachusetts and Connecticut absolutely pummeled the homes and the roofs. I mean, these roofs are old. You're talking, Connecticut is one of the founding spots in our nation. Like, that is the melting pot of how we began. So you're talking about some historic homes that are out there with slate and wood shake and old asphalt. I mean, Firestone and stuff like that. Like, and it's demolished. There's vinyl siding there, metal, and there's metal aluminum wrap fascia on everything, right? And I mean, the pock marks are that big around. And I met with the adjuster, and the adjuster's like, I don't see anything. And I got so angry. I just got off the roof. I just would not deal with the guy. We're talking about a huge property. I mean, the roof was probably about 40 or 50 squares. It's got a garage. The garage is probably about 30 or 40 squares. There's a pool house. There's an outside shed, right? And each one of these has vinyl siding around the outside of it. And it looks like somebody took a shotgun with rock salt and blew it apart.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, not damaged. The only time an engineer showed up and looked around and was like, please tell me he did not deny this claim. Who was the adjuster on this claim? Because I swear to God, if you're wasting my time, and I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to waste your time. That would be your adjuster at State Farm. And he gets up there and he's like, I'm going to write my report. This is absolutely absurd. I don't know why I'm here. And is the only time that this has happened in my career.
I had an interesting interaction with an engineer earlier this spring. And we were chatting, and he goes, who inspected this? Some of them, probably Mark. Yep, some of them. And I said it was a Seek Now or a ladder assist company did the inspection. And that's another growing trend that we're starting to see too, is that you don't even have an actual adjuster on these roofs.
It's that's a lot here in Houston. Mark Donaldson probably attests to some of that. Thank you for jumping in and asking that question. It was State Farm, but the actual adjuster on the claim that I was talking about, that was a staff adjuster for State Farm. So it wasn't like it was Hancock or Ladder Now or whatever. But the growing trend in Houston right now is Ladder Now or Hancock. And these individuals, they are paid to deny the claim.
So it's not. I mean, it's not so much. I don't think. Yeah, they're not going to come out and. I mean, of course, they're not going to say that. Right?
So they can't deny or approve.
Yeah,
but they have a list of requirements that they have to go by as a contractor that works for the insurance company. They have a list that they have to follow, and on that list is some pretty heinous shit.
Yeah, it's and a lot, like, out of the four roofs that I've been a part of where these ladder assist companies have come out to do the inspection, none of them were approved.
Right.
The only one that was approved was my own, because I was on the roof and marking the stuff. And as the homeowner, you can get away with a lot more stern speaking, right?
Yep. But without breaching UPA, especially in Houston, it's hard whenever you have a ladder assist for you to say anything besides to the homeowner, hey, listen, we need to go ahead and reschedule this.
Yeah.
Ask that guy to jump off tell that guy not to inspect the roof. That's kind of where I started gravitating towards, was like, if they send a ladder assist out, it's just like sending out an engineer for me. In my eye, they're denied it immediately. So what I started doing was just sending it to my PA.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, here's a soft handoff. Mrs. Homeowner, this is what I think is the best idea to do in this section, so that you're not breaching laws again, right? Because you technically can't really tell them what to do. But here's what I suggest. And this is possibly what you could see as an outcome from that. Here's a soft handoff. His name is X, right? Shout out to West Group Public Adjusters. They actually are now a sponsor of Roofing on the Rise. Pretty cool.
Nice.
I've been working with them for quite some time. Jamie's an awesome PA, and most PAs are awesome. They are absolutely overworked, and there's not enough of you. Do you see a rising trend for these insurance companies to push more on that UPA side and try and get some contractors in trouble?
Oh, of course. That's exactly what they're doing.
And do you think that it's that it behooves us to kind of combat some of that and learn a different way to approach this?
Absolutely. And it really depends on which state you're in, because like Louisiana, you can't even talk what is it? You can't even talk. You can talk scope, but you can't talk price. Maybe.
Right. That's how it is in Texas. You're not allowed to talk price.
Yeah,
but you can talk about scope. What is damaged. But
And so,
I don't think it's so. The only thing that we're allowed to do is talk about scope and what it takes to replace that scope.
yeah.
No pricing at all. No O&P, none of that shit. Like you can't say you need to pay me this. No. The way in Texas that you're supposed to do it is here's my invoice. Pay it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, like,
and so that's and you see so that's why you see the rise of, shout out to Jen Silver, the rise of that retail, kind of a retail first model is like, and I'm not 100%. I haven't went through her training,
yeah,
and I haven't. I haven't met her either,
me
but
either.
I know that she
Shout out
teaches
to
this.
Silver.
Yeah. Sorry, moving my camera for a second.
You're good.
But she teaches, hey, this is our price. You finance it. Like, have the homeowner finance whatever your price is. You do the job and say, here you go, homeowner. Have fun dealing with the insurance company.
You know, Chuck Thoke actually has been talking about that too. Top Rep program. Shout out to Chuck Thoke, Jim Johnson, everybody in the Top Rep program. I've been seeing this a whole lot. If you just finance and that actually goes to like the indemnification model. So that is your indemnification. If you're listening, to put it in plain terms, lump sum contracting. Basically, here's my invoice, pay it. If we operate more on that aspect of or on that part of the spectrum, I feel like we would be gravitating more in a positive way. But instead, we're playing the game that the insurance company has set out for us, and so we're doing this cat and mouse chase shit with the Xactimate.
Yeah.
And when you start talking about Xactimate and you start talking about these line items in Xactimate and how much they are and RFG versus DMO, you're breaking the law. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're talking about pricing. We are not, and this was not the same like 4 years ago.
No.
We could do this legally 4 years ago. Now we can't. There are people getting sued. There are people getting arrested and people that are getting charged with UPA on a daily basis for this.
Yeah, and you're going to see that. You're going to see that push. And the reason that happens is because their pocketbooks are way deeper than ours.
Yeah.
I mean, legitimate. It's a money thing. Like,
I think we need to be lobbying towards more education, and I think we should be doing a little more education in regards to this UPA. Maybe that's what we'll do for the next Houston deal. I don't know. I'll throw it in the pot.
Throw the idea out there. But that, I mean, the thing about it is when they go out, they sponsor their favorite politicians, whatever the case may be. And then the roofing industry kind of takes it on the chin because we're so busy trying to run around, find the next project, do the next job, keep our businesses afloat. We don't have time to deal with that.
Exactly.
And I really I think all states need this. This is something that all 48, lower 48, even Hawaii, so could really benefit from, is having their exterior contractors get together, form a coalition, form an association. And some states I know do that, and there are some organizations out there, but they need to take a more political stance. And when I say that, it's kind of like AAA, right? Everybody knows AAA because AAA's they come out and they fix your car when it's broken down on the side of the road. They're actually a lobbying organization. That's where all that money goes. You know, they lobby for traffic safety laws and traffic safety regulations in Washington, D.C. And I think that the roofing industry, I mean, what was the estimate I saw from Steve Patrick? Shout out to Steve. The roofing industry is like $50 billion a year, like somewhere between 50 and $100 billion a year.
Right.
And we are losing it. Like, we're getting punched in the face repetitively because we haven't organized to fight back.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
And so
that's a big deal.
Well, and how long are we going to wait before it gets to be untenable? When we're in an untenable position, and then what you're going to see, and this isn't a knock. You're just going to see major conglomerates like Apple Roofing. I mean, Apple Roofing's in like 25 states now. Stonebrook, Exteriors. Those are the big players that I know of. Shamrock, and that's not a knock. Those guys have built great businesses, and they're fantastic. I know the owners of a lot of them.
Yeah.
But we got it. Like we're
the change starts now. The change starts here, and I think that's kind of what you're driving home here. And I've been talking about this a lot. I talked about this in the last episode that just aired, and I talked about it a week ago. I talked about it in our board meeting with HARCA yesterday and our committee meeting today. If we are not the change, if we don't step up now, then who will? We're going to get to that point where it's too late. And we look back and we're like, shit, if I would have gotten up off my ass and went and became a board member of HARCA or a board member of RCAT or insert your state organization or local chapter here. Okay. And if you don't do that now, then you will look back and say, why did all this happen? And that's what voters are doing right now with what's going on in America. Everybody's getting involved now. Well, it's too late. It is too late for a lot of things for us. We have to do a massive, massive campaign for a lot of these things, or else it just does not work. And it starts with us. And I was in this circle. I'll say it again. I said it on the last broadcast. I'm going to say it on this broadcast. I was in a circle with Dimitri Limbinski. Shout out Dimitri and Roofing Insights. Met you again last week, hung out with you. And in this circle, we were talking about licensing in our state, in Texas. And I heard all reasons why a contractor would not join up. And the main things were the exact reasons why he should take that test and put it on his business card and put it on his marketing campaigns, and why we should be marketing it as a state and local chapter organization to our homeowners, not to just the contractors, but to the homeowners. Why is it so important to do business with a local state organization contractor? Why is it important to do business with someone that is licensed, right?
Why don't they approve the contractors now? Why don't they approve the contractors? RCAT approved, HARCA approved.
Yep.
Like, and advertise it.
Yep.
Take in, like, advertise it.
That's what we're working on right now. So that's something that as I walked into it, I'm like, listen, I know that I don't know anything about anything here, and I'm excited and I want to help change. So bear with me, because there's people on there that have been a part of these boards for 14 years and that have been struggling and working so hard to push for these things. And they need more help. They need more people to sit there and help with them. And I'm like, listen, how does this work? What do we do? What do you need from me? How do we push this? And how do we make a campaign that is so customer driven and not contractor driven that it gets the attention of the media? Because every single time that there's a storm, a major news outlet goes to that storm and says, whoa, don't do business with these contractors, blah, 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 they're fly-by-nights. Well, when really they need to be doing business with a contractor that's voluntarily licensed through the state and local chapters, that has a good standing with the community, that will go out and do that job and help the locals, because the locals can't take it. They cannot handle that workload. There's no way. But if you don't do it now, if you don't join these organizations now, then we're going to be looking back in 5 and 10 years at a destroyed marketplace. And people wonder why we come up on roofs that are trashed, that the contractor did a bad thing, Well, if we were journeymen for 4 years and we're required to take a state test, things would be different here.
And that's the thing too. And I'll say my unpopular opinion. I think everybody should have some type of should be registered, especially in the construction industry, and take a competency test.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many roofs I've walked on that were installed incorrectly. I was on one 2 weeks ago where it was a flat roof on a pitched surface, like 1 to 2, like 1 to 212.
Yeah.
I didn't take the pitch. It was probably a 212, and it was a Duralast PVC roof, right?
Yeah.
And the seams were going upstream.
Oh shit! So Duralast requires a heavier inspection process than most manufacturers. I was on a Duralast crew.
Yeah.
So that
was on a Duralast.
Really shouldn't happen.
No. So either someone got the material from somebody, because they don't hand that stuff out, or that was a Duralast certified contractor.
Exactly. So they did the wrong. Okay. So look, I was on a Duralast crew. We had spec plans on every single property. That's where I started my career, was on a Duralast crew. And we did the American Mensa building in Arlington, and we'd mess something up, like a cricket or something, by like inches. We had to go back and redo it. Right. Okay. So when we did that, the owner of the roofing company said, listen, I'm not busting into this roofing system. I don't have the confidence, since we're, a hair off here. I would venture to say that all of my runs are off now. So we're going to do the whole thing over again. I'm not confident with this system. And so we went back through and we did an overlay, which is legal. You have to do it the right way, but it's a legal way to do it. And so we started that process. And the project manager had us slit holes, which is part of the process, in the Duralast, and he had us do it for the entire property, not just what we can do in a day. Oh, and it rained. And it rained. OMG. We had so much crap. But yeah, we were required to make changes on that property. I could tell you about a handful of properties across the Oklahoma plains where there was a man that came through with a probe and a FLIR moisture reader to make sure that everything was done right. And if it wasn't done right, we had to go through and make alterations. Not every time did we have to do the entire thing. There was only once, that American Mensa building, that we had to do the whole thing. But anyhow, I do believe that there should be more, especially on a manufacturer side of things. We could talk about this for another hour.
Oh, yeah.
An actual testing for these contractors to make sure that they're doing it the right way. I will say that there are a couple of manufacturers, specialty manufacturers, that will go out with you to your jobs and will make sure that everything is done properly. One of those is EuroShield. One of those is Worth House Metal. And they will come out and make sure that everything is done properly. And if you pay a Duralast rep, you could probably do the same thing.
F-Wave does too.
Oh, F-Wave is made in Texas.
Yep. Some is manufactured in Michigan too. I think they have a plant in Michigan.
Oh, them sly dogs. I thought they were all Texas made.
No, I think I'm involved in a project locally. Okay. That is put in an F-Wave shingle. Like there's the F-Wave slate. I think it came out of Michigan.
Huh. Interesting. I'm pretty excited. So I'm looking into EuroShield right now. I've done a lot of research into Worth House Metals. Really good friends with everyone on that team. Shout out to Kevin Sheffer and their team. I really like the videos that Roofer's been putting out for EuroShield. It's very educational and shows a lot of that. A lot of these companies just don't have that. And so I see that kind of as a disservice from those companies. So if you're listening and you're one of those tech companies and or shingle manufacturer companies, got to be thinking more like on the tech space and education space. I think roofers really got it. But yeah, I understand, and a lot of our viewers understand and would even vibe this, that manufacturing should be a more stringent process on the warranty side of things and installation side of things. So
absolutely.
We are getting close to the end here. It's really crazy how quick time goes by.
It goes fast.
And really, we just sat here and had an awesome conversation about the stuff in the industry that needs to change and some of the stuff that's good. I'm really excited that you came on today. Like always, I do appreciate you talking about your mindset as well as all these good and awesome pertinent issues. I do thank you if you have been watching throughout this entire broadcast. Mark Donaldson, I know you asked a couple of questions about Josiah and who Josiah was. We covered some of that at the beginning of this segment, and I'll be putting out some little clips here pretty soon in regards to who Josiah is and what he does. Again, Josiah, thank you so much for coming on to Roofing on the Rise. If you've watched, we are sponsored by Roofing Supply Incorporated here in the Houston marketplace, where you can get your shingles from me. Give me a call, 210-919-8987. And also give out a big shout out to Josiah and his team, 6 months in running with his new company with supplementing, right?
It's Good Life Consulting. GoodLifeConsult.com. I can be reached at 531-777-9701.
You guys heard it first at Roofing on the Rise.